Here we are with Season 3 of Burn Notice, where survival turns into something more dangerous and ambition. Michael Westen isn't just trying to get out anymore. He's trying to take control, and control comes at a cost. The shadowy organization that burned him? It's no longer just a whisper in the background. It has a face now, multiple faces. Men in suits, smiles with teeth, favors that feel like traps. People like Tom Strickler, the kind of guy who sells access and influence like it's bottled water and makes you believe freedom is just one job away. Strickler dangles everything Michael wants: a clean slate, his life back, a way out. But every deal he offers comes with a line Michael swore he wouldn't cross. And one by one, those lines start to blur. Because when the door you've been banging on finally opens, it might not be to a better room. It might be a cage you built yourself. Hi, and welcome to Timeless New York City. I'm Lena, and today we're diving into Burn Notice Season 3, a turning point I call lines in the sand. The stakes are higher, the choices are harder, and Michael Westen is standing right on the edge of who he was and who he might have to become. This season is all about trust, identity, and the cost of ambition. The missions hit harder, the emotional weight gets real, and the lines between right and wrong start to blur. Hence the title, because once you cross certain boundaries, there's no going back. If you've seen it, you know. If not, heads up, spoilers ahead. Grab a drink. And let's break down Burn Notice Season 3, where the heat doesn't just rise, it burns from the inside out. Michael's starting to lose the part of himself that used to hesitate. He's colder, sharper, more tactical, and everyone around him feels it. Fiona sees him pulling away emotionally, choosing control over connection. Sam stays loyal, but now he's not just watching Michael's back, he's watching him. Even Madeline starts to wonder if the man her son is becoming is still the same person she raised. This season is dangerous not just because of the enemies, but because Michael is getting closer to becoming one of them. And the scariest part? He's starting to speak their language. I'm calling this season Lines in the Sand because it's all about boundaries, moral, personal, and emotional. And the truth is, once you cross some lines, there's no going back. Now let's get into the character arcs. Michael Westen, the man who's slipping. Season 3 is where Michael starts to lose his grip not on the mission, but on himself. He's inching closer to the truth, closer to the people who burned him. But with every step forward, the ground under him gets shakier. The danger isn't just external anymore. It's personal. It's internal. Michael has always prided himself on being calculated, controlled, emotionally detached when necessary. But now, that control is turning into coldness. He's not just navigating the spy world, he's starting to speak its language in a way that feels different. He makes deals with people he doesn't trust, takes jobs that make him question his own code, and begins sacrificing personal relationships for tactical wins. He says it's all to get his life back. But the irony is, the more he pushes forward, the more he loses the version of himself that made him want that life in the first place. The charm is still there when he needs it, the wit, the skill. But the warmth? That's disappearing, and everyone around him can feel it. Fiona sees it. Sam sees it. Even Madeline, who knows how much he's already lost, starts to wonder if what's left is enough to come back from. The real question in Season 3 isn't whether Michael will get reinstated or regain his status. It's whether he'll even recognize himself when the door finally opens. Because if he keeps going the way he is, the life he's fighting for might not be one he can actually live. Fiona Glenanne, the heart that's running out of patience. Fiona has always been intense, loyal, fierce in both love and combat. She's never been afraid to take a stand or throw a punch when needed. But in Season 3, she's getting tired not physically, but emotionally. She's tired of the waiting, the walls, and the half version of a relationship Michael keeps offering her. Fiona wants more than just adrenaline and fieldwork. She wants honesty. She wants Michael to stop compartmentalizing her, using her skills when the mission calls for it, but shutting her out when things get personal. She's not asking for flowers and quiet dinners. She's asking for truth, vulnerability, a seat at the emotional table. But Michael's not ready to go there, and Fiona knows it. So little by little, she starts to pull back not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. She's still in the game, still backing him up in dangerous situations, but off the field, she's guarding her heart. Because giving too much to someone who won't meet you halfway, that kind of loyalty starts to hurt. The love is still there, the fire is still there. But Fiona begins to wonder if Michael's mission will always come before everything else, including her. And if it does, how long can she keep waiting for a version of him that may never fully show up? Sam acts, the friend who's watching closely. Sam has always been the laid-back anchor, but this season, that laid-back energy masks something deeper: concern. Sam's not just watching Michael work, he's watching Michael change. He sees the way Michael's decisions are getting colder, how he's shutting people out, how the mission is swallowing the man. And Sam doesn't like it. He doesn't judge, that's never been his style, but behind the sunglasses and smiles, he's quietly keeping score. This isn't just about a spy trying to get his life back anymore. It's about a friend standing by, watching someone he cares about walk towards something dangerous and not knowing how to stop him. So Sam steps up. He becomes the unspoken glue. He checks in on Fiona when Michael won't. He calms Madeline when things get too tense. He even steps between Michael and the darker parts of himself when needed without ever saying that's what he's doing. Sam's loyalty never wavers, but this season, he starts asking himself something quietly, privately. What happens if Michael crosses a line he can't come back from? And am I ready to pull him out or walk away? Because for the first time, Sam's realizing this isn't just about getting burned, it's about what the burn turns you into. Michael Westen, the mother who's done waiting. Madeline has always been Michael's emotional compass, even if he rarely lets her in enough to admit it. In the early seasons, she stayed in the background, worried, but quiet. But by season 3, she's seen too much, and she's done waiting for Michael to come to her on his terms. She watches him closely now, the way his tone changes, the kind of people he's choosing to work with, the jobs he takes without blinking. His eyes used to be guarded. Now they're harder. And she knows what that means. The damage isn't just coming from the outside anymore, it's working its way in. Madeline starts speaking up more. Not just out of fear, but out of instinct. She's a mother who knows when something's wrong. And while she can't stop Michael from living in this world, she's not going to stand by and pretend it isn't changing him. She gets more involved this season, helping with intel, offering strategic insight, becoming a real part of the team, but always from a place of care. She's not interested in spycraft. She's interested in saving what's left of her son. Madeline's arc is about finding her voice, setting boundaries, and showing that love isn't just passive. Sometimes it means being the only person willing to tell the truth, even when no one wants to hear it. She'll always love Michael, but she refuses to lose him to the mission, even if she has to stand in his way to remind him who he really is. Barry Burkowski, the shady ally in the deep end. Barry's always been Michael's go-to when things get murky. He moves in shadows, keeps things off the books, and in the early days, it was strictly business. But in season 3, it starts to feel personal, whether he likes it or not. He's not built for danger, hates fieldwork, and complains constantly, but he keeps showing up. Somewhere along the way, this crew of burned spies became his people too. This season, Barry gets pulled deeper into bigger jobs, riskier moves, and messier moral territory. The line between favors and pressure starts to blur. He keeps up the sass, but the weight's getting heavier. Barry doesn't want to be a hero, he just wants to stay out of prison and maybe get paid. But there's loyalty there, under all the sarcasm. And when things get real, he doesn't run. In a world full of shifting loyalties, that means something. Nate Westen, the brother trying to belong. Nate's not a spy, he's Michael's younger brother, and that carries its own baggage. He returns this season with his usual mix of hustle, charm, and chaos. He wants to help, to be part of something bigger, but more than anything, he wants Michael to see him as more than the screw-up little brother who always needed saving. The problem? Nate doesn't fit in Michael's world. He means well, but he's always one step behind and usually in over his head. There's a rawness to him this season, a need to prove himself, not just to Michael, but to himself. Nate may not always get it right, but his heart's in the right place. He doesn't have spy training, but he shows up, and in a world built on shifting loyalties, that kind of loyalty is rare. Detective Paxson, the law that won't back down. Introduced in early Season 3, Detective Michelle Paxson is a Miami PD investigator who's had enough of the weird crimes following Michael around. She's smart, persistent, and has a solid moral compass, which makes her a rare force in Michael's world. Paxson doesn't buy the innocent bystander act, and she makes it her mission to get Michael off the streets. But she's not corrupt or evil, just a good cop who sees through the BS. In a way, she's a reminder that not all pressure comes from the criminal underworld or shadowy agencies. Sometimes it comes from someone simply doing their job and doing it well. Her presence forces Michael to be more careful, more subtle, and more aware that not every threat wears a suit or carries a file. Sometimes it's a badge and a sharp mind that just won't let go. Now let's take a look at the Season 3 villains. The ones who open the door, then slam it shut. Season 3 isn't about faceless enemies anymore. It's about people who smile while they gut you. The villains this season aren't just threats. They're offers, promises, doors to everything Michael thinks he wants with strings so tight they could strangle him. The Season 3's villains don't just want to hurt people, they want to control them. They offer power, but only if you're willing to pay with pieces of yourself. And by the end of the season, Michael's left with one question that haunts everything going forward. What am I becoming just to stay in the fight? Tom Strickler, the salesman of souls. Strickler is smooth, connected, and dangerous in a different way. He doesn't use threats. He uses offers. Freedom, power, a path back into the spy world, but always on his terms. He doesn't yell or pull a gun. He makes you believe the deal is your idea. To him, Michael is a product, a useful tool with skills and just enough desperation. And that's what makes Strickler dangerous. Not force, but temptation. For a moment, Michael actually considers the offer. But when Strickler puts Fiona in harm's way to seal the deal, Michael sees the truth. Strickler isn't just a manipulator, he's a threat to the people Michael loves. So Michael does what he has to do and kills him. Not for justice, not for the mission, for Fiona. And that choice cost him more than just the deal. It cost him who he's trying so hard not to become. Mason Gilroy, the wild card you never trust. Gilroy shows up like chaos in a tailored suit, unpredictable and impossible to fully read. A former British intelligence officer with a taste for destruction, he doesn't manipulate, he uses him. He ropes Michael into a plan that's reckless and explosive, not for power, but for pure chaos. Gilroy doesn't care about fallout. He thrives on it, and working with him forces Michael closer to the edge than ever before. He's not just a threat, he's a twisted reflection of what Michael could become if he stopped caring about consequences. In the end, Gilroy's own game catches up to him. When Simon Escher is freed, he kills Gilroy without hesitation, proving that in a world full of monsters, even wildcards get burned. Simon Escher, the shadow behind the burn. Simon is the end of the road, the reason Michael was burned in the first place. A former operative turned mass-murdering rogue, Simon is everything the agency feared Michael could become. So they acted first and burned Michael to prevent another Simon. When Simon is freed, he doesn't just return to violence, he becomes the physical embodiment of the threat Michael's been chasing all season. Michael stops him barely, but the damage is done. Simon proves that Michael's fight isn't just about redemption, it's about resisting transformation. Simon's presence doesn't linger long in Season 3, but the idea of him haunts the rest of the series. Brennen, the puppet master who never quits. Brennen doesn't kick down doors, he just makes sure you know he could. And worse, that he doesn't need to. He returns in Season 3 not with guns, but with leverage, and he knows exactly how to use it. No loyalty, no conscience, just profit, pressure, and power. What makes Brennen so dangerous is how well he understands Michael. He doesn't use violence, he forces impossible choices, threatening the people Michael cares about and turning his morality into a weapon. He's calm, smug, and surgical. Talks like a businessman, acts like a sociopath. And the worst part? He doesn't bluff. He makes threats with receipts. Brennen isn't just recurring for drama. He's recurring because people like him always come back. And every time he does, he forces Michael to cross another line he was trying not to lose. Now let's get into the Season 3 episodic villains. These villains aren't just throwaway bad guys, they serve a deeper purpose. They come in many forms: ruthless loan sharks, cartel enforcers, corrupt cops, arms dealers, traffickers, and con artists with no conscience. Some are slick and calculated, others are blunt instruments of violence, but all of them represent pressure coming at Michael from every angle. These aren't global threats or spy world titans. They're local, grounded, and painfully real. What makes them dangerous is how personal they get. They hurt innocent people, exploit the desperate, and remind Michael why he started helping people in the first place. While the bigger villains mess with his future, these people attack his present, the friends, the strangers, and sometimes the lines he thought he'd never cross. They keep him tethered to his humanity, just as the spy world keeps trying to rip it away. By the end of the season, Michael isn't just caught in the game, he's neck-deep in it. After months of being used by people like Strickler and Gilroy, he finally learns who's really behind his burn notice: Simon Escher, the man who actually committed the crimes Michael was blamed for. But here's the twist. Simon didn't just burn Michael, he's the reason they burned him. Simon went rogue, killed without conscience, and the people in charge decided, we don't need another one. So they burned Michael before he could become a threat, not for what he did, but for what he might become. The season ends with Michael getting what he wanted, his burn notice lifted. But it doesn't feel like freedom. He wakes up in a windowless room, surrounded by nameless guards. He's back in, but under someone else's control. It's not a victory, it's a warning. Be careful what you wish for. Because sometimes the door you fight to open leads into a darker room. The first few times I watched this season, I used to think of it as a bit of a filler, not in a bad way, but as a quieter setup for what was coming. It's a slower burn, for sure, but now I see it for what it really is, a turning point. Season 3 lays down the emotional and psychological groundwork for everything that follows. This is where the team's trust starts to shift. The villains introduced here, Strickler, Gilroy, might seem like temporary players at first, but they end up cracking open deeper fault lines between Michael and the people closest to him. It's not just about who burned him anymore, it becomes about why he even wants back into that world, and what he's willing to sacrifice to get there. Michael starts changing, and everyone around him feels it. Fiona, Sam, and Madeline all get pulled into that slow unravel. The season subtly puts their feelings about Michael, about the mission, and about themselves right in the spotlight. No, it doesn't fully prepare you for what's coming. But when you rewatch it, you realize how much of the emotional architecture starts here. Season 3 may not explode, but it shifts. And those shifts, they're what make the future seasons hit even harder. Burn Notice, Season 3. A slow burn that ends up leaving a deep mark. It may not have all the fireworks up front, but it's the emotional weight, the shifting loyalties, and those quiet cracks between characters that make it one of the most important seasons in the series. If you're watching along with me, or just reliving the ride, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What hit you hardest? What surprised you? What still holds up? And if you're enjoying this journey through one of the most underrated spy dramas ever made, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, not just for the YouTube algorithm, but so we can keep having real conversations about the shows that actually meant something. See you next week for Season 4, where the stakes get higher and the fallout gets personal.